This is the Precourse on Windows file handling network directories for Windows 10 users. So as you can see, I'm using Windows 10. First of all, let's make a brief overview on the different versions of Windows. When Microsoft produces regularly a new version of Windows, we had Windows Vista, Windows 7. In 2013, Microsoft has produced Windows 8, which lasted only a couple of years. It was produced in 3 different editions: Windows 8, Windows 8 Professional, called Pro, and Windows 8 Enterprise, which was installed here on UniBZ computer. Still some old computers probably have it installed. It was not appreciated at all for its user interface, which was designed more for tablets than for computers. I will show it now. Let's see whether in the video it appears. Okay, this horrible user interface. It was not really this one. Windows 8 had an even more impactful user interface without the names of the programs, so it was not appreciated at all. In fact, it's still installed only on 12% of computers. Many people prefer to stay with Windows 7 or to switch to Windows 10 as soon as possible. The other people have Windows 8.1, actually, not Windows 8. Microsoft replaced it with Windows 10 in 2015, making a heavy advertisement to switch to Windows 10. It's basically Windows 8.1, nothing else, but with the interface slightly changed, so you have it more compacted, as you can see now. It doesn't use the entire screen. Okay, on UniBZ we have the Enterprise Edition, which is identical, basically, with the Education Edition. The other edition are Windows 10 Home and Windows 10 Professional. The difference between these editions is the lack of some features for the smaller editions, which are also cost less. Okay. Here you can see the Windows share in September 2017, it's here. Okay. In yellow, Windows 7, which still is the market leader, even though it's going down. It's not sold by Microsoft anymore, and on new computer you cannot install it. Windows 10 is obviously growing rapidly. Windows 8.1 and Windows 8, which is this one, have always remained very low. Windows Vista, it was the operating system before Windows 7. It was not a great success, and they still remain at its small, let's say 4 or 5% percentage. Okay, so currently Windows 7 is still at the top, but it will be immediately, so it will in the next month surpassed by Windows 10. Okay. Before we start, there are some regional and language settings you should set up on Windows 8.1 and Windows 10. The two operating systems, let's say, are very similar. They are slightly changing some little aspects. So if you have Windows 8.1, you can follow this video anyway. Okay. The first, as you can see, there are also references for Mac, but the Mac users have another video. Let's see, press Windows key you have on your keyboard are key, which is identified with the Windows logo. Press it together with X and then go to Control Panel. So, Control Panel, where is Control Panel? Disappeared? No. Why they always change it? Disappeared. Okay. Let's try settings. No, it's not here. Control panel. No. So when you don't find something, you search here. Control panel. Okay, I don't understand why every couple of months they change the position of the things. Clock, language, and region. Okay. Here, click on additional settings. This is a fairly important place, the place in which you can decide which is your decimal symbol and which is your digit group symbol. I'm pretty sure that you are aware of the fact that in the United States, people don't use the comma to separate the decimal digits. They use the dot while in Europe, in particular in continental Europe, people use the comma. And exactly vice versa to separate thousands. Okay? In the United States they use the comma, in Europe we use the colon. You can imagine the confusion which arises, so you must be very, very aware of which separator does your computer use. Currently my computer uses the American separator because I have the dot as decimal separator and the comma as digit grouping. If I want to switch to European, I put comma here and dot here. You are free to put whatever you want, but please don't mess too much, so stick with comma and period, don't put other strange things. Particularly important is this one instead. This must, and I repeat, must be set to semicolon, okay? Point and comma. If you set it to comma, as it was before my computer, the function in Excel will not work properly. You will have to use the comma instead of the semicolon, but you will for sure forget because it will pass a lot of time before we start with Excel functions, and you will complain that your computer, you will blame the computer for not working properly. This list separator must be set to semicolon. If you set it to comma, it means that the function in Excel must use the comma. It's a chaos. So please be aware that it must be set to semicolon. All the rest you can decide whatever you want. I don't care. When you finish, apply. Okay. Apply just to be very sure. Okay. And let me see whether there is something else before closing. No. Okay. Fine. Okay. Then another issue, if you're using the university computer, or if you're using your own computer, I hope that you have not installed 20 different keyboards and you know which keyboards you have installed. However, sometimes university computer have installed the German and the English keyboard, but they have only one physical keyboard, which typically is the German one. It happens frequently that you type so fast that you press a strange key combination and your keyboard switches. So if, in particular during the exam, you start typing open parenthesis and instead a close parenthesis appear, you type plus and you get equal, you type minus and you get a sharp SS, it's because you have changed keyboard. Okay. In that case, whenever your keyboard starts to behave erratically, you have two options to switch it. Try left alt and shift, so I will try it now, let's see whether it works. No, on my computer it doesn't work. Try Windows and space. On my computer it doesn't work either. Let's see whether I have. It's because I don't have other keyboards installed. So these two things work if you have several other keyboards installed, and usually you have here the list of keyboards installed. So always make sure that the keyboard you're using corresponds to what is written here. It may happen at exam that you type so fast that you produce a strange key combination, the keyboard switches, and the computer starts to produce other characters while you type. So in this case, please, left alt shift or Windows space. Usually Windows space works. If you have instead, like in this case me, only one keyboard installed, it's not a problem, obviously. Okay. Another issue which happens commonly is that your computer locks. Suddenly, usually when you have not saved, when you don't have time, in the worst possible moment, your computer suddenly locks. The program doesn't move anymore, and you don't know what to do. I'm very sorry, but if you have not saved at this point, you probably have lost all your unsaved work, as you can see here in the warning written in red, because all these solutions are solutions to restore your computer back to work, but at the price of losing what you are doing. So first solution, press X on your program window, this X here, which tries to shut down the program window. Alternatively, Alt F4, Alt F4 shuts down the program window. I will now, for example, let's say open Firefox and try to shut it down with Alt F4. Okay, it works. Let's keep Firefox open, suppose, okay. Another alternative is the second alternative, Ctrl Shift ESC. So Ctrl Shift ESC. On the German keyboard that you have, probably if you're using the university computer, Ctrl is Strug, Shift is the arrow pointing up, and luckily ESC is ESC. Ctrl Shift ESC gives you the list of the programs which are currently running. Better pressing on more details to get a more comprehensible list. A comprehensive list, choose the application, right click, and the task. Tack, and I kill Firefox. Last alternative, Ctrl Alt Del. Del on the German keyboard is Entfer, on the Italian keyboard is Canch. Okay. Here you can shut down your computer from here. By the way, this is also a wonderful place to change your password, in particular if you have given your password already to the entire university. Okay, now cancel to go back. Last attempt, you press the power button, you keep it pressed for a long time, and whatever device you have, be it a computer or even a mobile phone, I can assure you it will switch off sooner or later, let's say after 10 seconds. Obviously, as I told you before, all these solutions restore your computer back to power, but you will lose whatever you were doing. So it's a good idea to save often, and save often. Windows identifies the type of files through extensions. Originally, the Mac didn't do it, so identified the type of file through other means, but now also the Mac identifies the file types through extensions. They both, the Mac and Windows, share a common problem, that the operating system hides the extension. I really don't understand why Microsoft and even Apple have adopted this horrible policy. They hide the extension to users, so you don't see the extensions. So you sometimes cannot understand which file is what. Okay, now we'll show you how to make them appear again. So you have to reach the control panel, Windows X control panel, but which on this computer I don't understand why I don't have it here. So I go here and type control panel. Okay. File Explorer options. Appearance and personalization. File Explorer options. View. And we use it is hide extensions for known file types. Probably on your computer it's flagged. On my computer it's unflagged because it's the very first thing I do whenever I touch a computer. And so now you have unflagged, you press apply, and now finally you are free to see the extensions. Can you see on my computer, can you see this is space delimited .txt. .txt is the extension. Traditionally it have 3 letters, but with Windows they can have more than 3 letters. So as the old computer which have 3 letters, can you see this one? dbt su asset.xlsx. So you can understand it's an Excel file. You can also understand that it's an Excel file from the icon, but the icon can be easily changed and sometimes it's not immediately understandable what is it. Okay. That's it. So which file types exist? There exist thousands and thousands of file types and millions of extensions. Don't worry, we will not go through all of them. I will just go through the ones which I think are vital to survive in a computer environment. So we distinguish, can you see there is a missing line here, not because I'm not able to produce PowerPoint slides, but because the two things are very different. We distinguish programs from data files. These are programs and these are data files. Programs are things which run directly. Whenever you double click on a program, the program alone executes itself. Run means does something. The typical extension are exe, which means executable, com, which means command, and bat, which means batch. Okay, they immediately do something. They don't need any other support. Okay, maybe they need data, but they can do something alone. On the other hand, all the other files here need some other support. These are data files. They cannot do anything alone. They simply contain the data. Whenever you double click on any of them, they call the appropriate program which is able to open them. So we say that this one run and this one are open with another program. So whenever you double click on a zip file, it's a compressed archive. Usually WinZip or 7-zip or ZArch or Windows itself opens up and shows you what is inside the archive. Whenever you double click on a TXT, on Windows usually Notepad arrives. We have here an example. This is a TXT. I double click. This is Notepad. Can you see Notepad? So the file has called Notepad to open it. Don't show this again because I'm reading. Okay. Oops. docx and doc and ltf are the document extensions for Word files. docx the new one, doc the old one, LTF means rich text format, and it's 99% compatible with Word. If you double click on them, it's Word which opens them. Then we have the famous PDF, portable document format, which is opened by usually Acrobat Reader, depends on what you have installed, sometimes the browser. Then we have XLSX, XLS, and CSV, which are open with Excel. Then we have all the images. Images have really tons of different extensions. The most famous are the JPEGs, JPG and JPEG, which probably is the format in which your mobile phone saves the images, or also your camera, if you have one, saves the images. GIF, bitmap, and PNG are also other formats, image formats. For this one, it depends on what you have installed. Usually Windows Image Viewer opens up, but it may be Photoshop, the browser, Paint, or whatever you have installed, or you can set as favorite program for opening images. AVI, MOV, MPG, and PEG are typical extensions for movies, film, videos. Whenever you double click on them, it depends also here. Maybe Windows Media Player, or you may have other better program installed, such as VLC or some others. MP3 and WAV are the audio extensions. Here it depends Winamp or even a Windows Media Player again. And finally, HTML and HTML extensions for web pages. It depends on the browser that you have installed. Usually Explorer is the default one. Now it's called Edge or Chrome, Firefox, or whatever you have installed. Okay, so we've said that when you double click on a file, if it's a program, it runs. Okay. If it is not a program, usually it opens itself with the default application, so with the application which Windows knows. You have, however, the possibility to open the file with an alternative application. So for example, I have this txt, I right click, and it says open with. Okay, I can open it with Notepad, which is the default one, or choose, for example, WordPad, another application, okay, which is another text editor. Or I can even choose another app, okay, more apps. I can open it with Explorer, Notepad. Well, Paint, I doubt it will be able to open, but with Word, for example, if I flag this one, Windows will remember and will use that program forever to open the txt files. Now let's stick with, for example, try to open it with Explorer. Let's see what happens. I don't flag this thing. And Explorer arrives and asks me stupid questions. Okay, and let's redo it. Okay, can you see? This is Explorer. It has opened the text file. Okay. Let's do some little exercises. Let's see how can you find a file or a folder inside the operating system. The file system. Windows organizes its internal storage as a tree. There is a root, which is the disk, usually labeled with a letter, as this one, C:/. Then there are directories, which are containers. Okay. A directory can contain files or other directories. Okay. So this is a typical example. For example, C:, it means the disk C, / is to separate the directories, Windows directory, System32 directory, and finally the file is called napipsec.dll. Let's try to find it. You have three options: searching it, which is honestly not the best choice. Okay, because unless you have a mess in your disk, in that case it may be the best choice. But if you have your files are a little organized, as I hope they are, it's not the best choice. You have a faster way to do it, especially because if you search for a file, it will scan the entire disk. You can browse the file system or type in the absolute path in the address bar. So let's start browsing the file system. So right click here and choose File Explorer, or open any directory. Okay, and go here to this PC. Okay, this is the disk. Can you see column? Okay. Here you will see that the absolute path is produced: Windows, System32, and the file name is na pipsec, so you can just simply type n, and again n, na p. Oh, it doesn't disappear. Na pipsec is disappeared, but we have na psps nsp.dll. This is the file. You can see here the path to reach this directory. Alternatively, you can type directly here c colon Windows, no, not Windows old, Windows system 32, dash, and you jump to system 32. So you can type things here. So you have two ways to reach files in the file system. Usually you will not mess with Windows directories. You will keep your files in documents, and they will be there, but you will organize them as a tree with this sort of containers, one contained into the other one. Okay, well, this is the solution. Remember that in order to type this backslash, well, on Italian and English keyboard it's not a problem. On a German keyboard, the backslash is near the question mark, near the sharp SS. But to produce it, you have to press Alt-G and the question mark. Okay. And now we start with network directories. On the university, we use some network directories which are stored on the network disk ubz01fst. How to reach this network disk? Well, it depends on where you are. If you're using a university computer, it's very simple. Just digit //, which on a German keyboard is Alt-G question mark, Alt-G question mark, ubz01fst on any Explorer address bar. So for example here, I digit //ubz01fst. So nothing else you need to do it. And you reach it immediately. You are now inside the network disk. Very different if you are using other things. If you're using your notebook, be sure to be connected to scientific network Wi-Fi and not to another Wi-Fi, not to open air. In this case, you have to digit the same thing but followed by .unibz.it. So you have to digit this one, .unibz.it. Okay, then the computer will ask you for login and password. Pay attention because your login is the university login, but unibz.it / the university login name. Not enough to type the login name, otherwise your computer will try to log in on the same computer and not on the university network. So when asked for login name and password, unibz.it / your login name, and the password is your university password. Flag remember my credential, and it will be remembered forever. Okay. Well, if you have Mac, go to watch the video for the Mac. If you are home, if you are connecting from home, so outside the university network, you must be on VPN. I have a video specifically dedicated on how to connect from VPN. Once you are in VPN, it's exactly as being here. Okay. So now that you, I hope, can reach the network directory, let's see what we have inside. We have several things. Let's start with courses. Courses is where I put directory course collective, which contains the course material. Oh, we can delete it. You can take the files from here. Obviously, you cannot delete them, and you cannot remove them. And you cannot modify them. So here is where I store the exam files, the course files. Always in courses and not in exams. Can you see? Not in exams. Not even me, I can't enter exams, as you can see. Always in courses, there is exam collective. Pay attention, not exam ISDM, which is here only to confuse you, but exam collective. In exam collective, you will find during the exam a long list of names you have to find yourself, and there you will find the files that you need for the exam. Okay. Other relevant directories are Scratch Echo. I decided to build a Scratch Echo to give you the possibility to write anything. Anything here can be deleted by anybody. So Scratch Echo is for you. You can put here whatever you want. You can delete whatever you want. Pay attention, if you put your own personal documents, somebody else can take them or even delete them or even modify them. So don't put important things. It's here so you can train how to copy the files at the end of the exam, because some of you have terrible problems copying the files at the end of the exam. And so there is the Scratch Echo. You can simulate, you can write your Mattia Rossi, you can put your own directory, and then you can train to copy the files back into this directory here. Okay? So on this directory you can do whatever you want. If you go back here, there is another place which is relevant for you, and it's student. Unfortunately, as you can see, I click, but I cannot enter because I came out of students. However, if you enter students, you should then find a list of user 2015, user 2016, user 2017, user 2018. Choose the year in which you enrolled to the university for the first time, enter it, choose Echo, and then search for yourself. If you don't find yourself, choose instead a year before with respect to the year you enrolled, because sometimes the technician commit mistakes. Or choose NATEC instead of Echo, because sometimes there is a chaos there. Okay, I have a similar one for profs user, but mine is easier. Okay. When you find your directory, this is the place in which, whenever you use a university computer, all the things are stored. So, since now I am on a university computer, if I put something on my desktop, it will go here in this desk. Can you see? It are the same thing. This is the limited debit su asset.xlsx. Okay, so everything you put on the desktop of the university computer, or as we will see later, of the university virtual machines, will arrive here. So this is the place in which your desktop and your documents will be saved. Or please keep this space low. Let's see. Right click properties, you can see how much you're using. In theory, you cannot exceed 300 megabytes. 300 megabytes, you can see that I am at 1.5 gigabytes, so I am far away after the limit, but it's because I'm recording a video and thus I'm using a lot of space. Let's hope it won't crash. If you go above your space limit without asking for the permission, you will run into troubles. You will receive first of all a warning email, but then this system will stop working. You won't be able to save the files anymore. And if this happened during the exam and you are using the university computer, not your own, good luck. Okay, so please, if you're using a university computer, arrive at exam with this space almost empty, so not full of stuff like mine. Okay, so 300 megabytes you have at this space approximately. Emails don't count. The emails have a different space reserved for them. Okay, and so here we come to virtualization. Whenever you use Windows 10 in a computer room at the university, you're not really using Windows 10 on that specific computer. You are instead running a virtualized Windows 10. How does it work? You switch the computer on, and what welcomes you is not Windows 10, it's a small little program which simply gives you the possibility to choose between Windows Labs, which corresponds to Windows 10, or other things. Whenever you click, for example, on Windows Labs, Windows 10 starts, but it doesn't start on your local machine. It starts on a supercomputer which is in another room, which has its own copies of Windows 10. What is the advantage of this thing here? The main advantage is that the university can in this way use old computers and use them. Otherwise they will need to be thrown away, because the computers, especially the ones in some computer labs, are rather old. Since the Windows 10 is not running on the computer itself, but is running on a supercomputer, and the computer that you have in front simply displays to you what you see and accepts the keyboard input, the machine will run fast and you have the impression to work on that machine, but you're working on the other supercomputer and not on the machine which is in front of you. So the first advantage is using computers which are old. The second advantage is maintenance. Whenever the university needs to change something, you just change the things on that supercomputer or that set of supercomputers and doesn't need to go computer by computer and change it one by one. I remember several years ago we had a major change of operating system and the technician really had to go computer by computer and change it one by one. Instead now they can just change things on the virtual server. Okay. This process here is called virtualization. It's not used on every computer in university. For example, the computer I'm currently working on does not use virtualization and it really runs Windows 10 on itself. Okay, so the virtualization works like this. All the configuration of Windows is on the server, on the supercomputer, while desktop and documents are into this that I showed you before. Remember that you have a quota limit of 300 megabytes. When you go above, delete the files from there. Virtualization does not work only from university computer rooms. You can use it also on your own notebook, even when you are outside the university network. And this is very interesting. Suppose, for example, you are even traveling on the other side of the world and you want to use the university computer, maybe because you don't have access or you don't have Excel installed on your own. How can you do? Well, you just connect here, desktop scientificnet.org. I will now do it. I open Chrome. Desktop scientificnet.org. Okay. This gives me the possibility to access VMware. VM means virtual machine. Horizon. Using HTML, which means that I don't need to install anything, or install a little client. We'll talk about the client later. Pay attention because this option, you can use it from a Windows computer, but also from a Mac, from a Linux computer, and even from a tablet. I tried myself on a tablet. Yes, you can have the tablet, clicking here, or even installing the client, and you can have Windows on your tablet. So I will now go here. Obviously you have to log in. Don't worry if you choose EURAC instead of UnityZ. Okay, this is exactly what you see when you start a computer on the university computer room. Now I choose Windows Labs. It will take a while because it's a Windows which is starting. You can see it's a Windows inside my browser. I have a Windows starting inside my browser. So very interesting. Well, if you are already running Windows, usually not. But if you're running other operating system, if you want to connect from your tablet, from your Android or iPad, it works fine. What is the advantage of instead installing the client? I showed you before, 2 pages before, that you have the opportunity to click on HTML or to install the client. Well, installing the client has the advantage that the entire procedure is faster. As you can see now, it takes time to do the login because you must connect to the supercomputer, ask him to provide a Windows virtual machine, etc. Oh, finally it arrives. Installing the client, this entire procedure is slightly faster, and in particular, here it is. So yes. So this is Windows inside the browser. So it's another Windows, not the Windows I'm using it. Even though you can see the same files, obviously, because it uses the desktop, which is on the network disk. So now I shut down this Windows here. Let's take care of shutting down the right one. Okay. Let's go back to desktop. Okay. What is the advantage of installing the client instead? Well, apart from being faster, the advantage is that you can access your local disk. Because if you work here, you can only access the network disk. Okay, you can go there from your computer and putting things there using the tricks that you have seen here. Okay, so you can put a file there using these tricks and then access the file through VMware. But it's a little trouble. It's a little contorted, not convenient. It's much better if you plan to use it regularly to install this little client. For example, I have installed it on my Mac. Then you can just click on the client and you will not only be able to have Windows or whatever program you like, because as you can see there are other programs available, Okay, you can also run, for example, only Access, only Excel, but you have also the possibility, may I go back? No. To access your local files. Okay. However, to access your local file, you need to configure slightly your Windows. How to do it? It's written on my website. I prefer to keep it written on my website and not on the video, because in this way, let me see, it's in the FAQ here. From settings, options, tab, share folders, you can enable access to your local disk. Okay, I write it here because it may change in the future, so you have to install this VMware client, which I don't want to install it now here on the university computer because it's pointless to install a client to access to the same Windows system. Okay, the big advantage of speed and access to your own computer, so you can access to these computer files here. Okay. So we can stop here the first part.